That Tuesday night, after Paige texted, "Training today." "Don't wait up," I did what I've been doing for weeks, I didn't reply. I just logged it. I was sitting in my truck outside a supply house, waiting on a compressor contactor, and I opened my notes, work order, end of marriage. Screenshot location 6:40 to 7:30 p.m. Save payment trail, Zelle/Square. No more arguments. File plus serve. Complaint to Jim same day. It felt cold writing it like that, but it also kept me from doing something dumb. When I'm dealing with a failing unit, I don't stand there and yell at it. I isolate the problem, document, and move forward. Same thing here. Keeping it boring on purpose, I treated Paige like a roommate with a shared mortgage. Short answers. No late-night talks. No trying to squeeze a confession out of her. I was polite, not warm. There's a difference. That week, she tested me. She'd come home and act like she was auditioning for Normal. "How was your day?" "Fine." "You want to watch something?" "No, I've got an early call." Then she'd do this thing where she'd stand in a doorway and wait for me to ask questions, like she wanted me to be the one who cracked so she could play the victim again. One night she said, "Are you really going to keep treating me like a stranger?" I didn't look up from my work iPad. "I'm treating you like you asked. Like your life isn't my business." Her face tightened. "That's not what I meant." "I know," I said. "But it's what you said." She stared at me for a long second. "You're punishing me." "I'm not punishing you," I said. "I'm adjusting." That made her mad because you can't argue with it. It's not drama. It's just, the temperature changed, and I wasn't pretending it hadn't. Every Tuesday, I grabbed screenshots at the same time. I didn't chase her. I didn't drive over again. I already had the car photo. I didn't need to turn my life into a stakeout. Just timestamps. Same pin. Same place. Same window. I started backing everything up in 2 places, a folder on my phone and a cloud drive under the new email. I didn't do it because I liked it. I did it because I've seen what happens when someone gets served and suddenly forgets passwords and phones break. On the money side, I kept it clean. I didn't hack into her bank account. I didn't snoop her phone. I just watched what I had the right to see, our joint finances and anything that touched them. The Zelle transfers kept coming out of her budgeting account, but I could see the transfers from our joint to that account. Like clockwork, she'd move money over on Monday, then pay training on Tuesday. Marisol told me, "This is good. Not because it's satisfying, because it's consistent." Judges and mediators understand patterns. It's weird, hearing your marriage reduced to a pattern. But that's what it becomes when trust is gone. Evidence replaces intimacy. The lawyer meeting that made it real, the second meeting with Marisol, was where it stopped being a gut punch and became paperwork. She had my file open and said, "Okay. Here's what I recommend." She laid out options like she was quoting equipment. Option A, file and push toward mediation quickly, aiming for an agreed divorce decree. Option B, file, request temporary orders, and prepare for a longer fight if she drags it out. Option C, separation informally, but she warned me that in Texas, dragging your feet can turn into a mess. "I want A," I said. "I don't want to live like this for a year." Marisol nodded. "Then we go in with clear terms." She slid a sheet toward me. "Tell me what you want, practically. Not emotionally. Practically." I stared at it and realized I hadn't let myself think past she's at a hotel. I'd been stuck at the diagnose stage. Now she was asking me to decide what the repair looked like. "I want the house sold," I said slowly. "Split equity. I'll keep my truck. She keeps her car. Each keeps our own retirement. No spousal support." Marisol didn't react. She just wrote. You think she'll fight that? She asked. Paige will fight anything that makes her look bad, I said. But she also hates being uncomfortable. If she thinks this gets out, she'll fold. Marisol's pen paused. We don't threaten. We don't extort. We keep it clean. But yes, fault can be leverage in negotiation. That's what I wanted. Clean. No yelling. No scenes. Marisol said, we file in Travis County. Standard standing orders apply. We'll prepare a petition that includes adultery as grounds. That doesn't mean we're doing a public show. It means we're not pretending this is irreconcilable differences if it isn't. I swallowed. Will she see the evidence? During discovery, potentially. But if she agrees quickly, it may not go further than what we have to disclose. Your evidence is primarily for leverage and protection. Okay, I said. Marisol looked me in the eye. Austin, I'm going to say this once, do not contact the trainer. Do not post online. Do not tell mutual friends. You can file a complaint with the gym, but we do it in a controlled way, with facts, not emotion. I can do that, I said. She smiled just slightly. I believe you. The day before filing, the night before we filed, Paige came home late. Later than normal. Not sweaty, not tired, just wired. She walked in and said, too cheerful, hey. I was at the table with my laptop open, but I wasn't doing anything dramatic. I was paying bills. Hey, I said. She stood there like she wanted me to ask where she'd been. I didn't. Finally she said, you're really not going to talk to me? I kept my eyes on the screen. If you have something to say, say it. She pulled out a chair and sat across from me. Her phone stayed face down. I'm not having an affair, she said. I didn't answer right away. I let the silence stretch until she filled it. I know things have been weird, she continued, voice controlled. But you jumped to the worst possible conclusion. I looked up. Then fix it. Her eyes narrowed. I shouldn't have to prove myself to you. That's where you're wrong, I said. You don't get to turn off location, change passwords, lie about where you are, and then act offended that I noticed. She leaned forward. I didn't lie. I tilted my head. Paige, I've got 6 weeks of screenshots that say otherwise. Her mouth tightened. That's insane. It's dates and times, I said. Insane is pretending GPS invented a hotel. She made a small sound, half laugh, half scoff. You're acting like I committed a crime. I'm acting like my wife is meeting a man at an apartment hotel, I said. Because she is. Her eyes flashed. You don't know what happens there. I held her gaze. Then tell me. She hesitated, and in that hesitation I felt something heavy settle in me. Not anger, confirmation. She said, quieter, it started as training. I didn't move. Okay. And then, she said, voice cracking just a little, it became, more. But it wasn't, don't, I said. She blinked. Don't what? Don't try to package it, I said. Just say it. Her throat worked. I crossed a line. That was the closest I was going to get to a clean confession. She wouldn't give me the words because the words make it real. I nodded once. Okay. Her eyes widened. That's it? That's all you have? What do you want me to say? I asked. That I'm hurt. That I'm angry. That I feel stupid. You want the list? She flinched. I'm not going to yell, I said. Yelling doesn't change what happened. Tears showed up in her eyes then, and for a second, just a second, I saw the girl I married. The one who'd cried when we bought our first house because she couldn't believe we'd done it. Then she hardened again, because that's what she does when she's cornered. So what, she said. You're leaving. I'm filing, I said. Her face went pale. You can't just do that. I can, I said. And I am. She stood up so fast the chair legs scraped. You're doing this because of him. No, I said. I'm doing this because of you. She shook her head like I was being unfair. I made a mistake. A mistake is backing into a mailbox, I said. This was a schedule. That line landed. She stared at me like she hated me for being accurate. Then she grabbed her phone and walked out of the room. I heard the bedroom door shut. I sat there a long time after, staring at my laptop screen. My hands didn't shake. But my chest hurt in this slow, dull way that felt like a bruise. That night, I slept like garbage. Not because I didn't know what I was doing. Because I did. Filing and serving, we filed on a Thursday morning. Marisol handled most of it. I signed what I needed to sign, in an office that felt too quiet for something this loud. She said, okay. Now we serve her. Can I started. No, Marisol cut in gently. Do not hand her papers yourself. It turns into a fight. We use a process server. Neutral. Clean. The process server served Paige at her work that afternoon. Marisol told me she picked work on purpose. It discourages blow-ups at home, and it's harder for someone to claim they didn't receive it. Paige didn't text me for an hour after it happened. Then my phone buzzed so hard I thought it might crack. Paige, what the hell is wrong with you? Paige, you had me served at my job. Paige, do you know how humiliating that is? I stared at the messages. My first instinct was to respond. To defend myself. To explain. Then I remembered Marisol's voice, don't argue. Don't feed it. Everything in writing can become evidence. So I replied with one sentence. We can communicate through attorneys. She called immediately. I didn't answer. She called again. Then again. I texted Marisol, she's blowing up my phone. Marisol replied, do not engage. Save everything. When I got home that evening, Paige was already there. She was in the living room, standing, like she'd been pacing. She held the papers in her hand like they were contaminated. The second I walked in, she said, so you're really doing this? Yes, I said. Her voice rose. You didn't even try. I set my keys down. I did. 4 weeks. I asked you. You lied. I didn't, she started. Paige, I said, and my tone made her stop. Don't. She stared at me, breathing hard. He doesn't mean anything. I didn't react. I just walked past her toward the kitchen because I needed water and because I wasn't going to stand there and let her frame this like she was the victim. She followed me. Austin, you're making a permanent decision over something temporary. I turned, leaned against the counter. You want to talk about temporary? How temporary was the hotel? Her face tightened. Stop calling it that. What should I call it? I asked. Your off-site recovery mirror suite. She slapped the papers against her thigh. You're being cruel. I'm being factual, I said. She stepped closer. Do you even know what you're doing to me? To us? I looked at her. Really looked. Her mascara was slightly smudged. She'd been crying, but she tried to fix it. Us is already done, I said. You just didn't want to say it out loud. She shook her head. You're throwing away 7 years. No, I said. You did. I'm just cleaning up the mess. Her mouth opened like she wanted to scream, but she didn't. Instead she changed tactics again, like flipping a breaker. Okay, she said, voice suddenly calmer. What do you want? There it was. Negotiation. I want this to be clean, I said. We sell the house. Split equity. Keep our own vehicles. Keep our own retirement. No spousal support. Her eyes narrowed. No spousal support? Are you kidding? We both work, I said. You make more than me, she snapped. Because my job wrecks my body, I said. And I still came home. Every day. She scoffed. So now you're going to punish me financially. I'm not punishing you, I said. I'm not rewarding you either. Her jaw clenched. You're acting like I'm some monster. I'm acting like you made choices, I said. And choices have consequences. She stared at me like she wanted to argue morality. Then she said, very quietly, are you going to tell people? I held her gaze. I'm not interested in gossip. But I'm not lying to protect you. Her face went pale again. So you're going to ruin me? I'm going to tell the truth if I'm asked, I said. That's it. She swallowed, hard. And him? Are you going to go after him? I paused. Not because I didn't know the answer. Because it mattered how I said it. I'm filing a complaint with the gym, I said. Her eyes widened. No. Yes, I said. You can't, she said, voice breaking. You can't do that. Why not? I asked. Because, she looked like she was searching for the right lie. Because it's private. I let out a slow breath. Private sessions at an apartment hotel aren't private. They're a liability. She stepped toward me like she might grab my arm. Austin, please. Don't do this. That was new. Paige doesn't say please often. She doesn't like needing anything. Why are you protecting him? I asked. Her lips parted. She closed them. Then she whispered, he'll drop me. And there it was. Not love. Not passion. Leverage. I felt something in me go quiet. You're worried he'll drop you, I said slowly, but you weren't worried about losing me. Tears spilled then, real ones. I didn't think you'd actually leave. That sentence made me feel sick. I nodded once. I'll send the complaint tomorrow. She shook her head like she couldn't accept it. If you do that, you'll destroy everything. I'm not destroying anything, I said. I'm documenting what already exists. Then I walked past her into the garage because if I stayed in that kitchen, I was going to say something sharp enough to stick forever. The complaint. Marisol helped draft the complaint so it wouldn't read like a jealous husband trying to burn someone down. It was a factual letter, addressed to the gym's general manager and owner, with dates, times, and attachments. No insults. No threats. It said, basically, your trainer appears to be soliciting female clients for paid, private sessions, off-site. The sessions appear to occur at a specific apartment hotel on a weekly basis. Payments appear to be processed through Square/Zelle in the trainer's name/initials. This may violate your policies and creates reputational and legal risk. Please investigate and preserve any relevant records. We attached several location screenshots, date, time visible, the photo of Paige's vehicle at the entrance, plate partially redacted in the version sent, and a redacted bank transfer log showing consistent payments labeled training. We filed the complaint the same day the divorce petition hit her desk, like I'd planned. One coordinated move. Not to be theatrical. To prevent stalling. The gym replied within 2 hours. Not a full response, just, we take allegations seriously. Can you come in to speak with management? Marisol told me to go, but to keep it short and not speculate. So the next morning, before my first call, I drove over. I parked in front of the gym and sat in the truck for a minute, watching people walk in with water bottles and earbuds, like it was any other day. It hit me then how normal affairs look from the outside. A parking lot. A schedule. People living their lives while someone else's collapses quietly behind them. Inside, the manager, a guy named Brent, met me in an office that smelled like protein powder and disinfectant. He looked uncomfortable but professional. He said, "Austin, right? Thanks for coming." "Yeah," I said. He gestured to a chair. "I'll be direct. We got your email. It's serious. We have policies about off-site training, client relationships, all of that. I'm not here to tell you how to run your business," I said. "I'm here because if you've got a trainer using your brand to funnel clients into private off-site sessions, especially at a hotel, that's your problem whether you know it or not." Brent rubbed his face. "Is your wife a member here?" "Yes," I said. He nodded. "Okay. We can't discuss her membership details with you, but we can investigate our employee." "I'm not asking for her details," I said. "I'm asking you to look at his." Brent glanced at the printed screenshots. "This is a pattern." "It is," I said. He hesitated. "Do you have proof of a physical relationship?" I kept my voice steady. "I have proof of repeated meetings at an apartment hotel, paid sessions, and deception about location." "Your policy is your policy. You don't need me to describe what adults do behind a closed door." Brent swallowed. "Fair." He leaned forward. "Look, I'm going to ask you something. Has your wife told you anything?" "She admitted crossing a line," I said. "That's all you're getting?" Brent nodded slowly. "Okay. We're going to put him on leave while we investigate." I stood. That's all I needed. He looked up. "Austin, if this turns out to be true, it could get messy. People talk." "I'm aware," I said. "And, you're okay with that?" I paused. "I'm not okay with any of it. But I'm done being the only one paying for it." Then I walked out. In my truck, I sat with my hands on the wheel and felt the anger flare again. Not wild. Controlled. Like a pilot light. Because this wasn't just page cheating. This was someone making a living off being professional, while running side appointments that wrecked marriages. Maybe mine wasn't the only one. When the secret started leaking without me, I didn't post online. I didn't tell friends. I didn't do a victory lap. But gyms are gossip factories. People live on routine and small talk. A trainer suddenly disappearing from the schedule is like removing a bolt from a fan, everything wobbles. By the following week, Paige came home from work white-faced. She stood in the doorway and said, "Did you talk to the gym?" "Yes," I said. Her hands curled into fists. "They suspended him." "I know," I said. Her voice shook. "They're saying he violated policy." I didn't respond. She stepped closer. "Austin, they're calling clients. They're asking questions." "Good," I said. She looked at me like I'd slapped her. "You're enjoying this?" "No," I said. "I'm done protecting it." She started pacing. "You don't understand. There are other women. People are talking." That made my stomach drop, not because it surprised me, but because it confirmed my suspicion. This wasn't a one-time mistake. It was a system. Paige stopped pacing and stared at me. "He says you're trying to ruin him." I laughed once, short. "Of course he does." She blinked. "He texted me." "About what?" I asked. She hesitated. He said you're unstable." I stepped closer, just enough that she could feel I wasn't playing. "Show me." She hugged her phone to her chest. "No. Paige," I said, voice low. "If you want anything from me, anything, show me." Her eyes filled again. She looked like she hated that she needed me. Finally, she unlocked her phone and held it out, screen angled so she could pull it back fast if I tried to grab it. The text from Evan was exactly what you'd expect from a guy trying to control a situation he'd lost control of, calling me insecure, implying Paige was confused, saying he'd protect her if she stayed quiet, warning her the gym was witch hunting him. It was all soft manipulation dressed up like concern. I didn't touch her phone. I just read. Then I said, send that to yourself. Email it. Then forward it to my lawyer. She looked at me, voice small. Why? Because it shows he's trying to influence a member during an investigation, I said. And it shows he's still in contact. Her mouth trembled. If I do that, he's done. I stared at her. Paige. He was done the second you became inconvenient. She flinched because she knew it was true. She didn't send it right away, but the next morning I got an email from her address with screenshots attached. No message. Just the images. That's when I knew she was starting to understand she'd bet on the wrong person. Divorce turns into numbers. Once the shock wore off, the divorce became what divorces are, negotiations over who gets what and who's mad about it. Paige hired an attorney. He sent Marisol a letter asking for temporary spousal support and exclusive use of the house. Marisol called me and said, she's making a play. I felt my jaw tighten. On what planet? Marisol said, on the planet where people panic and try to regain control. We scheduled mediation. In Texas, it's common. A neutral mediator, 2 attorneys, 2 people trying not to explode. The night before mediation, Paige tried to talk to me like adults. She stood in the hallway outside the guest room and said, can we just talk without lawyers? I didn't open the door all the way. Anything you want to say, say with your attorney present. She looked offended. So you really hate me? I don't hate you, I said. I don't trust you. Her eyes got glossy. I never meant to hurt you. I held her gaze. But you did. Repeatedly. On purpose. She swallowed. I was lonely. I almost laughed, not because loneliness is funny, but because it's always the excuse. Like loneliness grants permission. You were lonely, I said. And your solution was a hotel. She winced. Stop. No, I said. You don't get to edit the facts because they sound ugly out loud. Her voice rose a little. You act like you were perfect. I wasn't perfect, I said. I was present. That landed. She looked away. Then she said, quieter, if you do this the way you're doing it, I'm going to lose everything. I didn't soften. That's not my job to prevent. She stood there for a second longer, then walked away without another word. I sat on the edge of the bed and felt the sadness come back, heavy and slow. Because I didn't marry her to win. I married her because I thought we were on the same team. But I wasn't going to lose my life trying to prove I could forgive something she was still minimizing. Mediation was in a beige office building that looked like it could have been a dentist. The mediator was an older guy who spoke like a referee. He said, okay. We're here to reach an agreement. This doesn't have to be a moral trial. Marisol leaned over and murmured, it kind of is, but we'll pretend it isn't. Paige sat across the table from me, eyes tired, jaw tight. Her attorney, slick hair, expensive suit, kept whispering in her ear like he was feeding her lines. The mediator asked me what I wanted. I laid it out again, sell the house, split equity fairly, keep our own vehicles, keep our own retirement, no spousal support, no reimbursement for her training, because I wasn't petty. Then Paige's attorney said, my client has contributed significantly to the household and has a lower income. She is seeking temporary support and a greater share of the equity. Marisol didn't blink. She slid a folder across the table. She said, before we discuss support, we should acknowledge fault. Paige's attorney frowned. We're not litigating fault. Marisol smiled politely. We're not litigating. We're informing negotiation. She opened the folder and showed the mediator a printed timeline, dates, times, screenshots, payment patterns. Clean. Unemotional. The mediator's eyebrows lifted. Paige's face went red. She stared at the table like she wanted to disappear into it. Her attorney's posture changed. He stopped looking bored. The mediator cleared his throat. Okay. So there are allegations of adultery supported by documentation. Marisol said, not allegations. Evidence. Paige finally spoke, voice tight. You brought that here. I looked at her. You brought it into our marriage. She flinched like I'd hit her, but she didn't argue the substance. That was the thing. She could argue my tone all day. She couldn't argue the pattern. Her attorney tried anyway. Location data is not definitive proof of, Marisol cut in. We also have financial evidence of payments to a trainer for private sessions coinciding with those locations. And communication attempts from the trainer discouraging disclosure during an investigation. The mediator held up a hand. Okay. I've seen enough to understand leverage. He turned to Paige. Given this, pursuing spousal support may be challenging. Paige's jaw tightened. So I'm just supposed to get nothing. No one said nothing, the mediator replied. We're talking about equitable division. The question is whether you want to settle or fight. I watched Paige's face shift through anger, fear, and something like shame. She didn't look at me. She looked at her attorney. He whispered to her. She nodded stiffly. Then she said, quietly, what are you offering? We went back and forth for hours. Numbers. Percentages. Who keeps what? At one point, Paige snapped, you're trying to take the house from me. I kept my voice even. I'm trying to sell it. Neither of us needs to live in a place that feels like a crime scene. Her eyes flashed. You're so cold. I shrugged. I'm being careful. Eventually, after enough closed-door conversations with her attorney, Paige came back with a different posture, less fight, more survival. She agreed to no spousal support. She agreed we'd sell the house and split the equity 50-50ths. She agreed we'd each keep our vehicles and our own retirement. She asked for one thing, a timeline that let her find a new place before we listed. Marisol looked at me. It was reasonable. And I wasn't trying to punish her, I just wanted out. I said, fine. 60 days. Paige exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for weeks. The mediator drafted the agreement. We signed. When it was over, Paige stood in the hallway outside the conference room, arms folded, staring at the carpet. I walked past her. She said my name. Austin. I stopped but didn't turn fully. She said, voice thin, are you happy now? I looked at her. No. I'm free. Her face crumpled, and for a second she looked like she might say something real. Something human. Instead she said, bitter, he got fired. I felt a small, cold confirmation settle in me. Okay. Paige's eyes filled again. People are talking about me at the gym. Like you're what? I asked. She swallowed. Like I'm stupid. I didn't gloat. I didn't smile. I just said, I tried to warn you that choices have consequences. She shook her head, tears falling. You wanted this. I turned fully then. Paige, I wanted my wife. I didn't want a divorce. I didn't want an investigation. I didn't want any of it. She stared at me, mascara running now, and whispered, he told me you'd never leave. That was the last thing she said that day that sounded honest. I didn't respond. I just walked out. The gym fallout. A week after mediation, Brent from the gym called me. He said, "Austin, I wanted to follow up." "Yeah," I said, stepping away from a noisy rooftop unit so I could hear. Brent's voice was careful. "We completed our internal investigation. Evan is no longer employed here." "Okay," I said. Brent sighed. "There were multiple complaints. Not just your situation." I leaned against a duct, looking out over Austin traffic. "That doesn't surprise me." Brent hesitated. "We're offering refunds to clients who paid for off-site sessions that were improperly represented as part of our training program. We're also implementing stricter policies." "Good," I said. Brent lowered his voice. "I'm not calling to stir anything up. I'm calling because your email opened a door. People came forward once they realized someone was asking." I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired. "Yeah," I said. "That's usually how it goes." Before he hung up, Brent said, "For what it's worth, you handled this professionally. A lot of people wouldn't." I almost laughed at that. A marriage ending and someone complimenting my professionalism. But I said, "I appreciate it," and ended the call. Later, I heard through a friend of a friend that the gym had a little internal scandal. Not the kind that makes the news. The kind that spreads through group chats and whispered conversations. Women warning women. Guys getting defensive. A trainer's name being said like a caution sign. Page stopped going altogether. The part nobody warns you about, the quiet after. People think the worst part is the discovery or the confrontation. For me, the worst part was the quiet routine afterward, living in the same house while everything was already decided. Paige moved like a ghost through rooms we'd built together. She boxed up dishes. She separated books. She took down photos and stacked them face down like they were evidence too. Sometimes she'd try a last-minute, soft approach, like she couldn't help herself. One night she stood in the kitchen and said, "Do you remember when we painted this room and you got paint in your hair?" "Yeah," I said. She smiled sadly. "You looked ridiculous." I didn't smile back. She watched me. "I miss you." That hit hard. Not because it was romantic. Because it was late. "I miss who we were," I said. "I don't miss what this turned into." She nodded, tears in her eyes, and whispered, "I didn't think it would go this far." I didn't have it in me to argue. I just said, "It went exactly as far as you took it." There were mornings I'd wake up and forget for half a second. I'd reach for my phone and think about texting her something dumb, like a picture of a dog in a truck bed I saw on a call. Then I'd remember the hotel pin. That's grief. Your brain trying to run the old program in a system that's been replaced. There were also moments of rage, quiet, private ones. Like sitting in my truck, listening to a podcast, and suddenly realizing I'd spent a year trying to keep peace while she was building a second life. I didn't do anything with that rage. I just let it burn off like heat after you shut down a unit, still there for a while, then fading. I started running after work. Not because I'm a runner. Because my body needed somewhere to put the energy. I started eating at the same taco truck on Fridays because I needed rituals that were mine. And I started talking to a therapist because Marisol told me, bluntly, "Don't carry this into your next decade." Therapy wasn't dramatic either. It was mostly me saying, "I don't want to be bitter," and someone saying, "Then you have to feel it instead of avoiding it." Finalizing and moving out, we listed the house after 60 days like we agreed. Showing the house while your marriage is dying is one of the weirder things I've done. Strangers walked through our living room saying things like, "Oh, I love the natural light." Paige and I would sit in our cars down the street during showings like we were hiding from our own life. The house sold faster than I expected because Austin is Austin. We split the equity, paid off what we needed to pay off, and signed the final decree a few weeks after. The day it was final, Marisol called me. She said, "It's done. You're officially divorced." I stood in a mechanical room behind a hotel kitchen, listening to compressors hum, and felt nothing at first. Then a wave of relief so strong it made my eyes sting. "Thanks," I said, voice rough. Marisol replied, "Go do something good for yourself today." "I've got 3 more calls," I said. She chuckled. "Of course you do. Okay, do something good this weekend." When I hung up, I leaned against the wall and breathed for a minute. No fireworks. No celebration. Just a heavy door closing. Paige moved into an apartment across town. She took the furniture she wanted, left the rest. We handled it like a business transaction, because that's what it had become. The last time I saw her in that house, she was carrying a box of kitchen stuff out to her car. She paused at the doorway and looked back in, eyes lingering on the walls, the floor, the little marks from where we'd hung things. Then she looked at me and said, "I'm sorry." It wasn't dramatic. It didn't fix anything. But it sounded real. I nodded once. "Okay." She winced at my "okay," like it hurt her now. Then she said, "Do you ever think you could forgive me?" I took a breath. I didn't want to be cruel. But I wasn't going to lie to make the moment easier. "I can forgive you," I said. "But I'm not coming back." Her eyes filled. She whispered, "I ruined it." "Yes," I said quietly. "You did." She stood there shaking slightly, then turned and walked to her car. She didn't look back again. What walking away clean actually looks like, people here walked away clean and picture some movie moment, me strutting into the sunset. It wasn't that. Walking away clean looked like no screaming matches in parking lots, no punching walls, no drunk texts, no social media wars, no exposing anybody for applause, no letting my anger turn me into someone I don't respect. It looked like saving screenshots and bank records, meeting a lawyer, letting the process server do the messy part, and keeping my mouth shut when I wanted to vent. It looked like telling the truth without trying to weaponize it. And yeah, the trainer getting fired was part of it. But I didn't feel good about that the way people think you should. It felt like watching a unit finally fail after weeks of warning signs, inevitable, not satisfying. Paige losing support wasn't me cheering at her pain. It was me watching her learn, too late, that the guy who promises secrecy and excitement rarely sticks around for the consequences. A couple months after everything finalized, I ran into Luis at our gas station. Same one. Same time. He looked at me over his coffee and said, "You doing okay?" I shrugged. "I'm doing." He nodded like he understood the language. "You hear anything else about the gym guy?" "No," I said. "And I don't care." Luis sipped his coffee. "That's how you know you're getting better." I didn't answer, but he was right. At 6:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, I opened Find My to track down my AirPods and watched my wife's phone sit, dead still, behind an apartment hotel while she texted me, "Still at the gym, starting cool down." I told myself it was a glitch the first time, but by the 3rd week I had a screenshot with the date and time, a photo of her car by the entrance, and a plan to treat my marriage like a failed compressor, document everything, shut it down clean, and don't get cut reaching into the unit. I'm Austin, 34, born and raised in Central Texas, and I do commercial HVAC service. If you've ever been in a restaurant on South Lamar while it's 102 degrees and the air quits, I'm the guy in the parking lot with a manifold gauge set, an iPad, and a bad attitude about shortcuts. My weeks are just routes and tickets. I leave before sunrise, coffee from the same gas station off 290, podcasts in the truck, mostly sports or guys talking about engines like it's therapy, and a mileage log that I keep the way some people keep a journal. Not because I love paperwork. Because if you don't track the details, you end up paying for somebody else's mistake. That's kind of my whole worldview. Loyalty isn't a speech. It's small daily choices. You come home when you say you will. You don't hide your phone. You don't turn errands into mysteries. You don't make your spouse feel like they're asking for too much when they ask for basic respect. My wife, Paige, used to be steady. Not flashy. Not the type that needed a bunch of attention. We've been married 7 years. No kids. A little house on the north side that we've slowly fixed up, me doing a lot of it because that's what I do. She's in a job that's mostly emails and meetings and quick calls, and I never cared about the details as long as she was happy. Then she got into the gym. It wasn't even a bad thing at first. I was glad she found something that made her feel strong. She'd come home sweaty and upbeat, hair in a mess, telling me about deadlifts like she'd discovered a new religion. She picked a gym that did training, not just treadmills. A place with a big roll-up door, loud music, people throwing ropes around like they were mad at the floor. She talked about her trainer, Evan, like he was some kind of wizard. He's actually legit, she said one night, sliding a plate into the dishwasher. Not like the guys who just stare at themselves in the mirror. I said, wiping down the counter. As long as he's not selling you powders that taste like drywall. She laughed and shoved my shoulder. He's not. He's professional. That word, professional, was the first little hair on the back of my neck. Not because I thought she'd cheat. I didn't. But because you don't usually need to reassure somebody like that unless you're reassuring yourself. Still, I let it go. I don't do drama. I don't do jealousy. I work, I come home, I fix things, I keep peace. Paige started going Tuesdays and Thursdays after work, sometimes Saturdays. It became routine. She'd text when she got there. She'd text when she left. She'd show me blisters on her hands like proof of effort. And then, about 2 months in, the routine shifted in a way that didn't match the words. First, she turned off location services. Not in a loud way. Not like an announcement. Just one day, I noticed Find My wasn't updating on her side. We've shared locations since we got married. It was a safety thing. If my truck broke down on some back road outside Bastrop, she could find me. If she was out late and her car got a flat, I could find her. I brought it up casually. Hey, your location isn't showing. You turn that off. She didn't look up from her phone. Yeah. I read this thing about privacy. It's not safe to have it on all the time. Okay, I said. But we're each other. I'm not random people. She sighed like I'd asked her to explain taxes. Austin, it's just better. For security. That was new too. She changed her password, for security. She started keeping her phone face down all the time. On the couch. On the table. On the counter while she cooked. Face down like it was allergic to being seen. It's a small thing. You can argue it's nothing. But my brain doesn't work like that. My brain works like, a unit was running fine, now it's short cycling, what changed? I didn't go through her phone. I've never been that guy. I didn't want to be the guy who loses his mind over suspicions. I wanted facts. And for a while, I didn't have any. Until the AirPods. It was a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays are my heavy route days, restaurants, small office buildings, usually something angry and greasy. I'd gotten home, boots off, hands still smelling like coil cleaner, and I couldn't find my AirPods. I use them on service calls when I'm driving between sites. I'm that guy with the same podcast going every day like it's background noise for the chaos. Paige was in the shower. I grabbed my phone, opened Find My, and tapped the AirPods. The map popped up. No AirPods. But it showed devices, and her phone was on there. It was not at the gym. I zoomed in. The little dot was parked near a long, beige building with a sign I recognized from driving routes, one of those extended stay places. Apartment hotel. People staying there for weeks at a time. You see contractor trucks in the lot, out-of-state plates, U-Hauls. I stared at it like it was going to correct itself. Maybe the gym was near it, so I searched the gym's address in maps and compared. Not close. The gym was on one side of town. This hotel was out on the edge, near a frontage road where you don't go unless you're lost or you're trying not to be seen. I closed the app. Opened it again. Same. I told myself, glitch. Phones do weird stuff. GPS pings off towers. Sometimes it just drifts. I've watched my truck's navigation think I'm in a pond. Technology isn't a witness. It's a suggestion. Paige came out of the shower in one of my old t-shirts, hair dripping, and said, "What are you doing?" "Trying to find my AirPods," I said. "Lost, M." She walked over, glanced at my screen, and her face did this tiny freeze. Not panic. Not shock. Just a half-second of calculation. Then she said, "Well, that sucks. Did you check the truck?" "Yeah," I said. She leaned in and kissed my cheek. "I'm gonna start dinner." Like nothing. I didn't say anything. Not yet. Because a glitch is a glitch. Then the next week happened. Same day. Same time window. Same thing. I opened Find My because I was looking for my keys, and the dot popped up in the same spot. Same hotel. It wasn't drifting. It wasn't a tower bounce. It was parked. I took a screenshot without really thinking. Just muscle memory. Like taking a photo of a serial number before you replace a motor. Timestamp at the top. Location pin at the bottom. It felt stupid, like I was betraying my own rules. Paige came home 40 minutes later than she usually did after training. She smelled like shower gel, not gym sweat. Hair was dry. Makeup touched up like she'd been in a car mirror. "Good session?" I asked, standing at the sink. She set her bag down and smiled. "Yeah. Brutal. Legs." "Cool," I said. "You want dinner now or later?" "Now," she said quickly. Too quickly. Like she needed the normal routine back in place. That night, I lay awake and listened to her breathe. I wasn't angry yet. I was checking. Running diagnostics in my head. Looking for another explanation. Maybe the trainer did off-site sessions, like running stairs somewhere. Maybe the gym had a second location near the hotel. Maybe she met a friend there. Maybe she stopped at a coffee shop that shared the lot. So I did what I always do. I verified. I looked up the gym. One location. I looked up the hotel. Extended stay. Units rented by the week. Apartment-style suites. And I watched the clock the next Tuesday like it was a countdown. Week 3, I didn't even mean to. I was at a service call in Round Rock, finished early, and I had that screenshot from the week before sitting in my photos like a splinter. I waited until the time she'd normally be halfway through training, and I opened Find My. There it was. Same spot. I sat in my truck with the AC running and my hands on the steering wheel like I was trying to keep the wheel from floating away. I didn't call her. I didn't text. I didn't do anything dramatic. I drove. It took me 20 minutes because traffic was doing what traffic does. The whole way there, my brain kept offering exits. Turn around, you're being crazy, she'll laugh at you, you'll become the jealous guy. But the part of me that logs mileage and keeps receipts wouldn't let it go. I pulled into the lot and parked 2 rows over. It was early evening, the sun still bright and mean. The hotel looked exactly like every hotel like it, beige, square, long hallways with outside doors. And there, by the side entrance, was Paige's car. Same back windshield sticker. Same little dent on the passenger side bumper from when she bumped a cart at Target and pretended it was already there. I sat there for a full minute, just staring, like my eyes might change the facts. Then I did the next thing my body knows how to do, I documented. I took a photo through my windshield with the hotel entrance in frame and her car clearly visible. I zoomed enough to show the plate, but not so much it looked like a crime scene. I took another photo wider, showing the parking sign and the building number. Then I took another screenshot of Find My with the dot in the same place, date and time at the top. 3 pieces. Same as a work order. Before, during, after. My hands were steady. That's what scares me the most, looking back. My hands didn't shake. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just felt cold. Like somebody had turned off the power inside me. I drove away before she could walk out and see me. I didn't want a parking lot confrontation. I didn't want a screaming match on a frontage road. I wanted control. When Paige got home that night, she was bright. Too bright. Talking fast, laughing at stuff that wasn't funny. You should have seen Evan today, she said, dropping her shoes by the door. He had me doing these weird single-leg things. I'm gonna be sore for days. I nodded, watching her. Sounds intense. She walked into the kitchen and grabbed water. How was your day? Fine, I said. She drank like she'd been thirsty for a while. Then she said, casually, hey, I'm thinking about doing a private session once a week. Like one-on-one. It'll help me hit my goals faster. There it was. Slipped in like a bolt you don't notice until the panel falls off. I kept my voice even. Private session, where? At the gym? Yeah, she said. Or like wherever. Sometimes he does them off-site because the gym gets crowded. Off-site, I repeated. She shrugged. It's normal. Lots of trainers do it. Okay, I said, and I could hear my own voice go flat like a thermostat that's dead. What's it cost? She smiled like she'd already rehearsed this. It's not crazy. I can cover it. We have a joint account, I said. Nothing is, I can cover it. It's all our money. Her smile tightened. Austin, it's not like I'm buying a boat. No, I said. Just paying a guy for private sessions. That should have been my moment to lay the evidence on the table. But I didn't. Not yet. Because once you play your hand, you can't unplay it. And I needed to know what I was dealing with. Was it just sex? Was it money too? Was it a whole other life? That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling and replayed little moments from the past month. Her phone face down. The new passcode. The way she'd started showering the second she got home from the gym. The way she'd gotten weird about me doing her laundry, like she didn't want me touching her clothes. In the morning, I went to work like normal. Coffee from the same station. Same podcast. Same route log. But I started a new log too. Not a dramatic one. Not evidence binder like some movie. Just a note in my phone called Tuesday, 5:52 p.m. at gym, text. 6:47 p.m. find my location pin, hotel. 7:38 p.m. Arrived home, hair dry, no sweat smell. I did the same for the next week, and the next. Patterns are hard to argue with. The money part took longer. Paige was careful. She didn't book the hotel under her name, at least not on our shared cards. But nothing is invisible if you look at it like a tech. One Friday, she handed me her phone while she was driving because she wanted me to read a text. Can you just see what my sister said? I can't look down right now. I didn't scroll. I didn't snoop. I read the text. Then, without meaning to, my eyes caught the top of her email app, a notification preview. Receipt, Square. Evan H., $180. 00, that's it. Just a name initial and a number. She snatched the phone back a second later and kept driving like nothing happened. But my brain had already taken the screenshot in my head. That night, I checked our bank account. Nothing obvious. No hotel charges. No big withdrawals. But I noticed something I'd never paid attention to before, a string of small Zelle transfers coming out of her personal checking to a number I didn't recognize. Always Tuesdays. Always $180. Sometimes $200. Always labeled training. She'd opened her own account months ago, for budgeting. I hadn't fought it because it sounded reasonable. Adults can have separate accounts. I'm not controlling. I'm not her dad. But now that separate account looked like a pipeline. I didn't confront her about the money yet. I just started saving copies of statements. Downloaded PDFs, logged dates. Kept it clean. And I started taking screenshots of Find My every Tuesday at the same time, like clocking in. By week 6, I had a folder, map screenshots with date and time, the photo of her car at the hotel, bank transfers labeled training, and a note log of her texts versus location. It wasn't sexy. It was boring. Which made it worse. Affairs aren't usually big explosions. They're routine. There's someone deciding, every week, to lie. The confrontation happened on a Sunday, because Sundays are when we pretend we're normal. We were in the kitchen. She was cutting strawberries for yogurt like she was in a commercial. I was fixing a cabinet hinge she'd complained about for a month. That's how my brain works, if something is loose, I tighten it. She said, Evan thinks I should increase to 2 private sessions a week. I didn't look up. Does he? Yeah, she said. He says I'm plateauing. I wiped my hands on a rag. Paige. She paused. What? I set the screwdriver down and finally looked at her. Where are these private sessions? Her eyes flicked away. I told you. Sometimes off-site. Off-site where? I said. Not loud. Just direct. She exhaled like I was exhausting her. Austin, why are you interrogating me? I'm asking a question. Why does it matter? She snapped. It's training. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. I'd already queued up the screenshot, the one from the first Tuesday I caught it, and then the second, and then the third where I drove by. I slid the phone across the counter like a work order. Her face changed when she saw it. Not confusion. Not surprise. Recognition. Then immediate defense. That's not what you think. I haven't told you what I think, I said. She pushed the phone back like it burned. Why are you tracking me? I wasn't, I said. I was looking for my AirPods. Your dot was there. That's creepy, she said, voice climbing. You're using Find My to stalk me. I used Find My to find my stuff, I said. Then I noticed your phone wasn't at the gym. She crossed her arms. Sometimes we do recovery stuff there. There's a sauna. It's quieter. At the hotel, I said. It's not a hotel, she said fast. It's apartments. One of his clients has a place there and what, I said. You train in someone's apartment? Her jaw clenched. It's private. It's not your business. That hit like a wrench across knuckles. Not because it was a good argument. Because it was the first time in our marriage she'd said something like that with no hesitation. I nodded once. Okay. She blinked. Okay. Yeah, I said. If it's not my business, then we're not doing the same thing anymore. Her voice softened, like she realized she'd pushed too far. Austin, don't make this into something it's not. I picked up my phone again and opened a photo of her car at the entrance. I zoomed just enough that she could see it was undeniable. License plate, entrance sign, the whole thing. What is it then? I said. Explain it. Start to finish. Like you'd explain it in court. Her eyes went wet, but it didn't look like sadness. It looked like anger that she'd been cornered. I go there after training sometimes, she said. He has a client who rents a unit for rehab stuff. It has open space. Mirrors. It's fine. Mirrors, I repeated. In an apartment hotel. She raised her voice. God, you're being insane. I kept mine steady. What unit? What? What unit number? She stared like I'd asked her to recite a VIN. I don't know. You don't know where you go every Tuesday, I said. It's not every Tuesday. It is, I said. I have 6 screenshots. Her mouth opened and closed. She swallowed. Why are you doing this? I leaned against the counter, and for the first time I felt the anger come up, not as yelling, but as this heavy pressure in my chest. Because you turned off location, I said. You changed your password. You keep your phone face down. You're paying a guy cash transfers labeled training and meeting him at an apartment hotel. And you want me to sit here and eat yogurt like I'm stupid. She flinched at the money part. That one landed. I don't know what you're talking about, she said, but her voice lost some power. I saw the receipt notification, I said. And I can see the transfers in our statement history. She shook her head hard. So you are watching me. I'm watching the facts, I said. Because you stopped being honest. She stepped closer, lowering her voice like she was trying a different tool. Austin, listen. I didn't tell you because I knew you'd react like this. Like what? Like you own me, she said. Like I can't have something for myself. I stared at her. Having something for yourself isn't the same as lying. She looked away. I didn't cheat on you. I didn't respond right away. I just let that sentence hang there in the kitchen air. Then I said, okay. Then you won't mind calling him. Right now. On speaker. And telling him you're putting location sharing back on. Her eyes snapped to mine. No. Why, I said. If it's innocent. Because you're being controlling. That's not an answer, I said. She turned toward the sink, hands shaking slightly, and started rinsing strawberries like she could wash the conversation off them. I'm not doing this, she said. I'm done. You're not going to humiliate me. I'm not trying to humiliate you, I said. I'm trying to understand why my wife is at that place every week. She spun back around. Because I needed something that wasn't you. There it was. Not a confession, exactly. But the first honest thing she'd said in weeks. My throat tightened. Say that again. She blinked rapidly. Her voice cracked just a little. I'm not happy, Austin. That doesn't answer the hotel, I said. She stared at me, breathing hard. It's different. He listens. He actually pays attention. He doesn't come home exhausted and shut down. I laughed once, dry, not amused. I come home exhausted because I'm keeping our life running. And I'm supposed to be grateful forever, she snapped. No, I said. You're supposed to be honest. She put her hands on the counter, leaning forward. You want honesty? Fine. I didn't plan anything. It just happened. It just happened, I repeated. Like a leak just happens. Her eyes flashed. Don't do that. Do what? I said. Use reality. She straightened. I'm not leaving the gym. I'm not stopping training. And I'm not turning on my location just because you're spiraling. I nodded again, slow. Okay. That second okay had weight. She felt it. What does that mean? She asked, voice smaller now. It means I'm not doing arguments, I said. I'm doing next steps. Her face went pale. Austin, I picked up my screwdriver, finished tightening the hinge with 2 turns, and wiped my hands like I was finishing a job. I'm going for a drive, I said. I need air. She followed me to the garage. Don't be dramatic. I stopped and looked at her. Paige, I fix systems for a living. When something's compromised, you don't pretend it's fine because you like the idea of it. You shut it down before it burns the whole building. Her jaw trembled. So what, you're leaving me? I'm not making promises, I said. I'm making a plan. I got in my truck and drove to my usual gas station, because habits are what keep me from doing something stupid. Same coffee. Same parking spot. My hands finally started shaking when I tried to put the lid on. I sat there with my phone in my lap and stared at the folder of screenshots like it belonged to someone else. Shock is weird. It's not screaming. It's not crying. It's your brain refusing to accept the shape of your own life. Anger came next, but not as violence, more like heat under the skin. Like being trapped on a roof in August with no shade. I wanted to text Evan. I wanted to show up at the hotel and wait by her car. I wanted to blow it up. But I hate drama, and drama rarely helps in court. So I called the one person I trust with messy situations, my old friend Luis, who runs jobs with me sometimes and has been divorced twice, which makes him basically a field expert. He answered on the second ring. What's up, man? You on a call? No, I said. You got a minute? He heard something in my voice. Yeah. What's going on? I stared out at the cars moving past, all of them going somewhere simple, like groceries or dinner, like life wasn't about to split. I think Paige is cheating, I said. Luis went quiet. Then, you think, or you know. I have a lot, I said. Location screenshots. Her car at a hotel. Payments. He didn't say, I'm sorry, right away. That's why I called him. He said, okay. Then you don't confront again. You already did. Now you get a lawyer. I figured, I said. And you don't move out, he added immediately. Not unless the lawyer tells you. Don't do anything that looks like abandonment. I'm not, I said. You eating? He asked. No. Go eat. Then call a lawyer tomorrow. You want a number? My guy is in Round Rock, but he'll tell you what to do. Send it, I said. He texted me the contact info while we were still on the phone. After I hung up, I sat there longer than I meant to. Then I opened my mileage log app, because it's what I do when I'm stressed, and stared at the clean lines of my week. Every drive accounted for. Every stop. Every timestamp. And I realized something. Paige had been building a second routine inside our routine. Like a hidden duct run behind a wall. I went home and slept in the guest room. Paige didn't try to stop me. She stood in the hallway and watched me carry a pillow like it was a silent standoff. In the morning, she acted like it hadn't happened. She made coffee. She asked if I wanted eggs. She talked about her Monday schedule. I listened, and the sadness showed up, quiet, heavy. Not just because she might be sleeping with someone else, but because she was looking me in the eye and choosing to keep lying. I watched her put her phone face down on the counter. Paige, I said. She didn't look up. What? I'm meeting with someone today, I said. Who? She asked, finally glancing at me. A lawyer, I said. The coffee cup in her hand paused halfway to her mouth. For what? She tried. I shrugged, like it wasn't personal. Like it was a service quote. To understand my options. Her face tightened. So you're really doing this? I'm really doing facts, I said. You can do whatever story you want. I'm done living inside it. She set the cup down carefully, too carefully. You're going to ruin my life because you saw a dot on a map. No, I said. You're going to ruin your life because you made 6 weeks of choices and thought I wouldn't notice. She stepped closer, voice low and sharp. If you go after my gym, if you tell anyone, I held up a hand. I haven't said what I'm doing. You don't get to humiliate me, she hissed. I'm not interested in humiliating you, I said. I'm interested in not getting screwed. Her eyes flashed. You're such an asshole. I nodded once. Maybe. But I'm an asshole who keeps receipts. I left for work like normal, because my boss doesn't care if my marriage is dying, units still go down. But between service calls, I made 2 stops that weren't on my usual route. First, I sat in my truck in a parking lot and pulled every statement I could get my hands on, joint account summaries, credit card histories, anything with dates. I forwarded copies to a new email address I created on the spot. Not because I wanted to be sneaky, because I wanted my evidence somewhere Paige couldn't delete it with one password reset. Second, I went to the lawyer's office. It was in a plain building with frosted glass and a waiting room that smelled like printer toner. The attorney's name was Marisol Grant. Mid-40s, calm eyes, the kind of person who doesn't flinch at mess. She shook my hand and said, Austin. Tell me what's happening. Start from the beginning. Dates help. So I did. I laid it out like a timeline. Location off. Phone face down. Hotel pin. Screenshot. Photo. Payments. She listened without making a face, which I appreciated. When I finished, she said, First thing, you did the right thing by documenting instead of escalating. Second, in Texas, adultery can matter. Not always, but it can. It can affect property division. So yes, evidence matters. I swallowed. I'm not trying to destroy her. I just want to walk away without getting wrecked. Marisol nodded. That's a reasonable goal. She tapped her pen. Do you have joint assets? House, retirement, vehicles? Yes, I said. House. My truck. Her car. Retirement through my union. Okay, she said. Do not drain accounts. Do not move money around like you're hiding it. Courts hate that. But you can protect yourself. We'll talk about temporary orders, separating expenses, and making sure you're not paying for, she paused, choosing the word, her extracurriculars. I exhaled through my nose. What about the gym? The trainer. Marisol leaned back slightly. You want to file a complaint. I want consequences tied to reality, I said. If he's using the gym to pick up clients for private sessions at a hotel, that's not just cheating. That's him using his position. It may be a policy violation, she agreed. Possibly more, depending on contracts and if money is being taken off book. But here's what I need you to do, don't contact him. Don't threaten the gym. Don't send anything until we've filed. Timing matters. That word, timing, landed in my chest like a final bolt tightening. She slid a notepad toward me. Here are your immediate steps. I'm going to be very direct. And she was. It sounded like a checklist, which is the only language my brain accepts when everything else is on fire. Keep documenting location screenshots with dates and times. Save all financial records related to payments, Zelle, Venmo, Cash App, Square receipts, anything. Keep a written log of her claimed schedule versus observed facts. Avoid further confrontations. Be civil. Short. Don't argue. Don't leave the house without legal guidance. Start thinking about what terms you want: house, vehicles, retirement, support. Then she looked at me and said, "Austin, I'm going to ask you something uncomfortable. Are you sure you want divorce?" The sadness hit hard right then, not as tears, but as the knowledge that I'd reached a point where my life was about to split into before and after. I pictured Paige on our couch, laughing at something on TV. I pictured the way she used to rub my shoulder when I came home sore and exhausted. I pictured the kitchen we remodeled together. The dumb arguments about paint color. The nights we fell asleep with our feet tangled. Then I pictured her car at that hotel, and her saying, "I needed something that wasn't you." "I don't want this," I said. "But I'm not staying inside a lie." Marisol nodded once. "Then we build a clean exit. And we do it quietly." I walked out of her office with a folder in my hand and the kind of calm that only comes when you finally stop hoping and start acting. In my truck, I opened my notes app and titled a new note, "Work Order, End of Marriage." Under it, I wrote, "File, serve, complaint to Jim, same day, protect assets, no drama." I sat there for a minute, hands on the wheel, staring at the line items like they belonged to a different man. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Paige, "Training today. Don't wait up." I opened Find My. Her dot was already moving toward the same edge of town hotel. And I realized the strangest part of all this wasn't that she was still doing it. It was that she thought I'd keep pretending not to see it. I put the truck in drive and headed to my next service call, because I still had units to fix. But the whole way there, all I could think was, next week, the Jim is going to get a packet. And so is she.